The Gallipoli Peninsula is located in Turkish Thrace, the European part of Turkey, with the Aegean Sea to the west and the Dardanelles strait to the east. Gallipoli is an Italian word derived from the Greek kappa alpha lambda lambda iota pi omicron lambda iota sigma, meaning beautiful city. In antiquity, it was known as the Thracian Chersonese. The peninsula runs in a southwesterly direction into the Aegean Sea, between the Hellespont and the Bay of Melas. Near Agora, it was protected by a wall running across its full breadth. The isthmus traversed by the wall was only 36 stadia in breadth, but the length of the peninsula from this wall to its southern extremity, Cape Massacia, was 420 stadia. History, antiquity and medieval. In ancient times, the Gallipoli Peninsula was known as the Thracian Chersonese to the Greeks and later the Romans. It was the location of several prominent towns, including Cardia, Pactu, Kαλλίπολις, Alapkanessus, Sestos, Maditos, and Alas. The peninsula was renowned for its wheat. It also benefited from its strategic importance on the main route between Europe and Asia, as well as from its control of the shipping route from Crimea. The city of Sestos was the main crossing point on the Hellespont. According to Herodotus, the Thracian tribe of Dardanelles held possession of Chersonese before the Greek colonization. Then, settlers from ancient Greece, mainly of Ionian and Aeolian stock, founded about 12 cities on the peninsula in the 7th century BC. The Athenian statesman Miltiades the Elder founded a major Athenian colony there around 560 BC. He took authority over the entire peninsula, building up its defenses against incursions from the mainland. It eventually passed to his nephew, the more famous Miltiades the Younger, around 524 BC. The peninsula was abandoned to the Persians in 493 BC after the outbreak of the Greco-Persian Wars. The Persians were eventually expelled, after which the peninsula was for a time ruled over by Athens, which enrolled it into the Delian League in 478 BC. The Athenians established a number of cleruchies on the Thracian Chersonese and sent an additional 1,000 settlers around 448 BC. Sparta gained control after the decisive Battle of Aegospotami in 404 BC, but the peninsula subsequently reverted to the Athenians. In the 4th century BC, the Thracian Chersonese became the focus of a bitter territorial dispute between Athens and Macedon, whose king Philip II sought possession. It was eventually ceded to Philip in 338 BC, after the death of Philip's son Alexander the Great in 323 BC. The Thracian Chersonese became the object of contention among Alexander's successors. Lysimachus established his capital Lysimachia here. In 278 BC, Celtic tribes from Galatia in Asia Minor settled in the area. In 196 BC, the Seleucid king Antiochus III seized the peninsula. This alarmed the Greeks and prompted them to seek the aid of the Romans, who conquered the Thracian Chersonese, which they gave to their ally Eumenes II of Pergamon in 188 BC. At the extinction of the Attalid dynasty in 133 BC, it passed again to the Romans, who from 129 BC administered it in the Roman province of Asia. It was subsequently made a state and territory, and during the reign of the Emperor Augustus it was imperial property. The Thracian Chersonese was part of the Eastern Roman Empire from its foundation in 330 AD. In 443 AD, Attila the Hun invaded the Gallipoli Peninsula during one of the last stages of his grand campaign that year. He captured both Kαλλίπολις and Sestos, and destroyed a significant portion of the Eastern Roman army. Aside from a brief period from 1204 to 1235, when it was controlled by the Republic of Venice, the Byzantine Empire ruled the territory until 1356. During the night between the 1st and the 2nd of March 1354, a strong earthquake destroyed the city of Gallipoli and its city walls, weakening its defenses. In 1356 the peninsula became the first part of Europe to fall to the Ottoman Empire, which subsequently made it a major base for raids and incursions into territories further afield. Ottoman era. After the devastating 1354 earthquake, the Greek city of Gallipoli was almost abandoned, but swiftly reoccupied by Turks from Anatolia, the Asiatic side of the strait, making Gallipoli the first Ottoman position in Europe, and the staging area for their expansion across the Balkans. It was recaptured for Byzantium by the Savoyard Crusade in 1366, but the beleaguered Byzantines were forced to hand it back in September 1376. The Greeks living there were allowed to continue their everyday life. In the 19th century, Gallipoli was a district in the Vilayet of Adrianople, with about 30,000 inhabitants, comprising Greeks, Turks, Armenians and Jews. British and French engineers constructed in March 1854 a 7-mile line of defense to protect the peninsula from a possible Russian attack and to keep control of the route to the Mediterranean Sea. Gallipoli became a major encampment for British and French forces in 1854 during the Crimean War, and the harbour was also a stopping-off point on the way to Constantinople. Gallipoli did not experience any more wars until the First Balkan War, when the Battle of Bulair and several minor skirmishes took place here. During World War I, British and colonial forces attacked the peninsula in 1915, seeking to secure a route to relieve their ally Imperial Russia in the east. The Ottomans set up defensive fortifications along the peninsula and the attackers were eventually repulsed. Gallipoli was occupied by Greek troops on the 4th of August 1920 during Turkish War of Independence and was a prefecture centre in Greece as Kαλλίπολις, after armistice of Mudros. But Greece was forced to withdraw from eastern Thrace after armistice of Mudanya. It was briefly handed to British troops on the 20th of October 1922. It was finally returned to Turkish rule on the 26th of November 1922. It became the center of Gelibolu province with district of Gelibolu, Eshirbat, Kesan and Sarkoy between 1923 and 1926. After dissolution of the province, it became a district center in Çanakkale province. In 1920, after the defeat of the Russian White Army of General Pyotr Wrangel, a significant number of émigré soldiers and the families evacuated to Gallipoli from the Crimean Peninsula. Further, many went to European countries, such as Yugoslavia, where they found refuge. A stone monument was erected and a special Gallipoli cross was created to commemorate the soldiers who stayed in Gallipoli. The stone monument was destroyed during an earthquake, but in January 2008 reconstruction of the monument had begun with the consent of the Turkish government. Gallipoli campaign in early 1915, attempting to seize a strategic advantage in World War I by capturing Constantinople. The British authorized an attack on the peninsula. The first Australian troops landed on early morning the 25th of April 1915, and after 8 months of heavy fighting, the troops were withdrawn around the end of the year. The campaign was one of the greatest Ottoman victories during the war and is considered a major Allied failure. In Turkey, it is regarded as a defining moment in the nation's history, a final surge in the defense of the motherland as the Ottoman Empire crumbled. The struggle formed the basis for the Turkish War of Independence and the founding of the Republic of Turkey 8 years later under Mustafa Kemal. Ataturk, who first rose to prominence as a commander at Gallipoli. The Gallipoli Star was a military decoration created by the Ottoman Empire in 1915 and awarded for the duration of World War I. The campaign was the first major military action of Australia and New Zealand as independent dominions, and is often considered to mark the birth of national consciousness in those nations. The date of the landing, the 25th of April, is known as Anzac Day. It remains the most significant commemoration of military casualties and veterans in Australia and New Zealand. On the Allied side, one of the key promoters of the expedition was Britain's First Lord of the Admiralty, Winston Churchill, whose reputation took years to recover. Notable people from Gallipoli: Ahmed Baikan, author; Piri Reis, admiral, geographer and cartographer; Mustafa Ali, Ottoman historian, politician and writer; Sofia Vembo, Greek singer and actress.